A very warm welcome to a big Magpie Circle podcast at the start of the season. We have got none other than a man who's captured plenty of headlines, come down from the northeast for us. Macaulay Langstaff. Macaulay, a very warm welcome to the Magpie Circle, to Nottingham, to Meadow Lane and the National League Premier Division, or whatever we call it.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Hey, good to have you. Now then, I want to kick off. You took the number 9, and in my shirt collection at the back here, you're following in one or two illustrious footsteps. Some of these shirts are older than you are. The number 9 behind me there was worn in about 1992-93, a guy called Gary Lund, among others. The guy there's a ledge, Lee Hughes. You may have actually heard of him. The one you've taken it from, Kyle Wotton. And down at the bottom, this is another man you'll have probably heard of, Shola Amiobi. So you're following in one or two illustrious footsteps, young man.
Yeah, like you said, some legends of the club. So it's a big shirt to fill. But I'm about the responsibility. Obviously, last year, Woods was number 9 and obviously had a great season, 20 plus goals. So I'm following directly from that. So yeah, like I said, it's a big shirt to fill, but one I'm looking forward to.
Now, bizarrely, when I was doing a bit of prep with the various clubs you've been since turning pro, you've never actually wore the number 9. So why 9 now? Could you not get it at the other clubs?
I'm not too sure. You know, when I was younger, I always used to wear number 9. I was always like an out striker when I was younger, so it was always just natural number 9. But I think when I sort of went full time, turned pro, I started playing out wide and started playing as a winger. I think as a winger, you know, number 9 is not really natural. It's always number 7. I enjoyed that number when number 7 when I was playing as a winger. But yeah, I came to this club. Obviously, number 7 was took. I just thought, you know, number 9 you associate with scoring goals. Obviously, I did that last year, and I want to do that again this year. So I'm just really excited to be wearing the number 9 for the first time.
Well, it's great to have you on board. You've already gone down in folklore. You've scored against Nottingham Forest, right? Not many people, sadly, have been able to say they can do that in well, for a variety of decades, if I'm honest with you. What was that like?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling. It was the whole occasion. Obviously, we're playing against a Premier League side, some top players. I think the game, we were brilliant in the game. I thought we were quite dominant, to be honest. Playing in front of over 14,000 fans. And I said, obviously, we were shooting towards a cup in the second half. Obviously, I'd like to score any time, but my first goal at Meadow Lane, I'd love to be in front of that stand. You know, it was full. And to get that goal against a Premier League side in front of that stand and seeing how many fans there and them all celebrating, it was an unbelievable feeling. One of the best I've had, even though it's pre-season. It was a great feeling to get off the mark at Meadow Lane and especially do it in front of that stand.
All right, let's just wind back the clock and understand a little bit about yourself and your football journey. So you hail from a place called Stockton, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Now then, I don't know whether you'd have come across the Bishop family, who are a footballing family up there. So Neal Bishop,
yeah,
very influential central midfielder for us. I'm not sure it was Stockton or Billingham he was playing for, but he played with his dad when his dad was about 50 odd or something. So would you have come across them at all?
Yeah, well, I actually played with his brother at a club called Billingham Symphonia a few years back. I was 18, 19. So obviously, I've came across it and both over the years. Obviously, bumped around town and stuff like that. So yeah, I knew of him. I knew of the links in Notts County when I signed, and my family sort of speak to some of their family at times as well. So that's nice.
Yeah, Bish is a top lad and tells stories about when he went down to Barnet before he came to Notts, and he was kind of still part-time because he came into the game very, very late.
Yeah.
So what was your journey like as a kid? Are you one of these football daft northerners?
Yeah, 100%. My football journey was probably a little bit different to the usual. You know, you got a lot of lads at Notts County now who, a lot of them, most of them came through the academy setup, you know, the scholarship, the pro, the sort of natural way of going through it. I didn't really. I just played local football, Sunday league football, and then when I was 19, I signed for Billingham Symphonia. I had a really good season, to be honest, and you know, people were coming to watch me. And then I signed for Gateshead, so it was a massive step up, really, from, I think it was Northern League Division 2 to the National League at the time. So yeah, I've came from sort of the lower leagues. I had that sort of years of being a scholar and and go through it that way. So I think that makes me just probably appreciate it a little bit more now. Not saying other lads don't appreciate it, but in terms of, I know what it's like playing at the real lower levels and stuff like that. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. I think I was exposed to men's football quite early. I think from 17-year-old, I was exposed to men's football. And I think that's stood me in good stead now in terms of like the physicality and stuff like that. So yeah, a bit of an unnatural way, but I wouldn't change it. I think it's made me the player I am today.
So, because normally most players have had various trials. I mean, were you not playing for the Star Sunday morning team or kids team in Stockton? Did you not get any trials at pro clubs around there, be it at Hartlepool, Middlesbrough, Newcastle?
Do you know what? I played for Middlesbrough when I was 10-year-old to 14-year-old. But once I got released from Middlesbrough, not really. No, I was playing for probably the best local team at the time, but I was quite underdeveloped. I think from 14 to 18. I was very small and slight, and I always scored goals. I was quite a natural goal scorer, but in terms of trials or anything, no, not one really. And when I was 18, I sort of developed a little bit more, and I started kicking on really, and physically I grew, and I had a really good season at Billingham Symphonia, just out of nowhere a little bit. It was just I was enjoying playing with my pals. I was at college, ready to go to university and stuff like that, and I just had an unbelievable season. First 6 months of the season, and got a move to Gateshead, and it just went from there really.
So you talked about their further education potentially at university. Had you made a move to part-time job, full-time job? I mean, was football? Did you ever consider it as a possible career for you, or not?
Genuinely, no, not one bit. I was studying at college. Obviously, even in the lower levels now, you can earn a little bit of money. So I was earning a little bit of money from football on a Saturday. But yeah, not wanted. I think.
What were you paid Saturday? What were you paid Saturday?
Oh, when I first started, I think it was £40 a week, £50 a week, or something like that. At the time, I was 17, 18. I used to love it. And I know it was only not a lot of money, but just to play football, to get paid to play football, no matter how much it is, really, it was a bit mad. So yeah, playing for Billingham Symphonia and studying at college, and
if you weren't kind of at that point thinking about pro football as a possibility for you, were you one of those people that knew what you wanted to do? Were you aiming towards something? Did you know what you was going to study at uni or anything like that?
Not really. I studied a few things at college. I started off as electrical engineering. So I was going to go down that route, electrical.
Yeah. So
I was going to go down that route, and then I went and studied A levels in business studies and economics. I didn't really have like a clear path of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get something behind me. I was just going with the flow really, and then obviously my football took off, and it was a case of right, the education can take a back seat now, and I'm pushing on with my football.
So Billingham was the platform. So you then went to Gateshead, and so were Gateshead full time at that point when you were going to them first time?
Yeah, so I signed in January mid-season, and they were full time in the National League. But they loaned me back to Billingham Symphonia. That was part of the deal to finish the season off with them. So I was training full time with Gateshead, which brought me on loads. Obviously playing on the Saturday for Billingham Symphonia, finished the season off. Had a really good finish of the season, got promoted and stuff like that. Some of the best memories, even to this day, I've had in football. But I think that exposure to professional football brought me on leaps and bounds, and I went in that pre-season with 6 months behind me in terms of training full-time.
Memory serves, Gates had all sorts of financial issues, nearly went bust, didn't they? Was that round about the time you were there?
Yeah, so that would have been at the end of my second season, my first full season, really. And I loved it there. I loved that Gateshead, and I really wanted to stay. And then the financial troubles came. The owners were selling, and the club was in a bit of a tough place in terms of they weren't sure if they were going to find a buyer. They couldn't offer lads contracts, so lads were waiting over the summer. And obviously, lads have got to look after themselves. If there's no contract offer on the table, they've got to go and maybe look elsewhere. And then York got in touch, and it was a case of like I spoke to the manager, Steve Watson, at the time at Gateshead, and said, like, look, I would have loved to have stayed, but I can't wait about, hoping that there's going to be a contract offer when there might not be one there with no owners in place. So I signed for York. Obviously, that's a massive club. It was a step down at the time. They were in the National League North. But in terms of a club size, it was a massive club. So I ended up making the decision to sign for them.
So, from a family perspective, you wouldn't necessarily be earning a fortune at Gateshead, but nevertheless, it's a full-time program. Were you still back at home with your folks then? I mean, what's it like? Although you're a pro footballer, but presumably money is pretty tight at that kind of level, unless you're living off mum and dad or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, when I first signed for Gateshead, I was signing from Billings and Fornia, so it was they were giving me a chance. You know, whatever money they offered, I would have took at the time because it was more about the opportunity, it's not about the money at that point. I was still living with my mum, so obviously she was helping me with stuff like that. But you know, I was 20-year-old. It was enough to live on at the time. Couldn't be stupid, but yeah, it was enough to live on. And like I say, it wasn't about the money at that point. It was about the opportunity.
So football is a religion in the Northeast. Did you have a team you supported?
Yeah, Middlesbrough, massive Middlesbrough fan.
You're a Borough fan, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and where does that come from?
Just
by
my family.
being a kid playing for them.
Yeah. Obviously, my local team. Obviously, I'm from Stockton, but Middlesbrough's down the road. If you're from Stockton, you usually support Middlesbrough. All my family supported Middlesbrough. So I was just from being a kid. I can remember my first game, going to a Middlesbrough game and stuff like that. And then obviously I was ball boy. I was at the academy, and then even when I got released, I just tried to get to every home and away game. So yeah, I'm a big Borough fan.
Okay. So you're now at York, who are historically a football league club, but have hit quite difficult times. Bootham Crescent is probably not in the best state of repair. Got the new stadium now, of course, where you've just been.
Yeah.
How did you find the York experience?
It was a bit of a roller coaster. I loved the club, the size of the club. It's a massive club, you know. It's a footballing city. Obviously, if you're from York, you support York. So in terms of the fans and stuff like that, they turn up in the numbers home and away. Massive expectations, as you expect, because ultimately they're in the National League North, but like you say, not long ago they're in the Football League, so they have these expectations. We didn't have the most successful time when I was there. My first season, personally, I had a decent season. I think I was 21, 22-year-old and got 12 goals, but we finished nowhere near where we aimed to finish. We were aiming for promotion and got nowhere near that. We finished around mid-table. But personally, I had a really good season. My sort of first real season, my breakthrough season, really, of playing a lot of games. And then the second season was a bit, there was more downs and ups in the second season. For me personally, I had an injury in pre-season, which sort of put me back, and I just couldn't really break into the team. But like I say, like the lads that were there, and the managers I worked under there, and the fans and stuff like that, I really enjoyed it.
So how did you end up going back to Gateshead?
So it was obviously it was a COVID year, and the season got curtailed. But we played the playoffs for York, and got beaten in the semi-final, and there was a sort of another massive disappointment that we didn't get promoted, and there was a massive turnover of players. I think that they released the majority of the squad of York, so I found myself for the first time looking for a club, really, like, in terms of like being released from a club and looking for a club. And Gateshead was one of them that I finished business with, and obviously the manager had changed since then, but there were still people working at the club that I'd worked under before. And the assistant manager rang me and was just like, obviously, we want you to come back. I enjoyed my first spell at the club, so it was a bit of a no-brainer. It was obviously full-time still, even though they're in the National League North at this point, because they got relegated through the financial issues. But the fact it was full-time, I had quite a lot of offers in terms of part-time football, but the fact it was full-time and I've worked with the staff before meant it was a no-brainer, and obviously I signed back there.
Did you have any inkling it could turn out to be quite as successful as it did?
It's tough to say. Like, last season was, I couldn't have dreamt of it any better. Like, it was literally a perfect season. So to say that I was going back there thinking that was going to turn out, I'd be lying. I knew I was going to enjoy it again. I knew the manager that was there. I'd heard so many good things about him, so I knew that I was going to really enjoy it. I was going to improve as a player. and I think we were going to be successful. But to say that the first season was a bit of a non-starter, it got curtailed in January, so it wasn't a full season. But to say that in my second season, I was going to be top scorer in the league, I was going to win the player of the season, we were going to get promoters. I think if you told me that at the start of the season, I said you'd be lying. So it couldn't have worked out any better, really.
Well, from a personal level, did you feel yourself to be a much better player last season, or what would you put the success for you personally and the club down to?
I think if I get a run of games in any team, this is from being 19, 20-year-olds. If I get a run of games in any team, I think I'll score goals. I'm matured as a player. Working under Mike Williams at Gateshead, he brought me on leaps and bounds. He's massive on mentality and things like that. I think mentally I improved massively. I think that the turning point for me in the period which I really used to kick on was that period when COVID hit and the season got curtailed at Gateshead in my first season, and a lot of clubs have stopped training. Where Gateshead just continued training, obviously from the January into pre-season. They use that period. Obviously, that's credit to Mike. We didn't have to do that. He used that period to keep on training. Obviously, there was no games to train for, but we were training at the time, and I used that period to just be the fittest I can be, the strongest I can be. I think I worked harder than most. I took everything on board that Mike was trying to tell me. I improved tactically, physically, technically. I improved, and I just used that momentum. We had a few friendly games in that period, and I was doing really well in the friendly games. And I just used that momentum, taking it into pre-season and then into the season. I think I just carried on. So I just used that period to the best I could, what I had to work with, really. And that's what led me on to having a good season, I think. Okay,
so it's a dream season. Title, Golden Boot. I don't know whether you get a Golden Boot in the National League, do you? Do you get anything?
Yeah. I went to an awards, even in Wales, and picked up a couple of awards there. It's just like a sort of plaque, like a glass plaque sort of thing. It's nice, yeah.
Good. So talk us through how the Notts County move materialised.
The interest, it was quite early on in the interest. It was maybe a few months before the end of the season. And obviously, I didn't speak to the club. Obviously, I was coming to Gateshead. I just came to sort of rooms and stuff like that. And automatically, you know, I was doing well at the time. I was in about interest from quite a few clubs, but I was straight away. It's one of them clubs where you take note. It's a massive club. So when I first heard of the interest, it was, yeah, like it turned my head a little bit. Obviously, finished the season with Gateshead. Obviously, won the league, which was a brilliant few weeks, and I think it was quite soon after. I think it might have been a week after the season finished. They got in touch and said, obviously, we're interested in Macaulay. What we think? And straight away, I said to my agent, I said, like, that like stands out to me. That's like the type of move that would get me excited. And obviously, there was conversations and stuff like that. And obviously, they made the bid, and obviously the bid was agreed and stuff like that. Went down and met the club, spoke to him. I was really impressed that I walked in with an open mind, and I walked out to my agent. I think that's me. That's my mind made up. I think that they put like a presentation together. There was a number of staff in the meeting. They like show me clips from me last season and show me how I would fit into their system and in the way they want to play and stuff like that. And why they want to sign me, really. I was just so impressed by the sort of detail I went into. I think that once I walked out and drove home, it was the case of the next few days, yeah, let's get it signed. And obviously, I think it was about a week later, it was all done and all signed.
So who was in that meeting then, Macaulay? Because if I'm right, I don't think the head coach had been appointed at that point. We signed you a little bit before we signed the head coach, didn't we?
No, yeah, he did. So I met, like in Notts County, it was Rich in the meeting. It was
Richard Montague, yeah.
Yeah. It was a few of the staff that worked there who do the analysis, who obviously put the clips together for me. And it was actually the old manager that I met, and the assistant. So I was in the meeting with them. Obviously, spoke to them. At that point, obviously, we didn't know that the manager was going to leave and stuff like that. But once the manager left and I still kept in contact with Rich, he assured me that the club still wanted to sign me. Obviously, the recruitment policy they've got in place meant that they still wanted to sign me. So, like I say, I was so impressed with the club. Obviously, looking around Meadow Lane and stuff like that. Like I know it's not ideal, obviously, not having that manager in place when you sign him, but I think just the whole club and the whole structure of the club excited me. So it didn't make much of a difference in terms of my decision making.
Okay, so that's one part of the strike partnership from Gateshead moving into Meadow Lane. Kedwin, it's pronounced with a K, isn't it? Not a C.
Yeah.
So Kedwin. So did he know he might be coming? Was it a bolt out the blue? Had you had the little chats beforehand? You might be coming as a combo. Where was that?
Not really. Obviously I signed, and I'm quite close to Kedwin anyway. Off the pitch, we contact quite a lot, so we were just discussing different things. Like I was asking what he was going to do, if he was going to stay or whatever. And we didn't really mention Notts County originally. I think it might have been a couple of weeks after he got in touch with me and said, hey, there's potential there. Like they've been in touch with me. I could be signing, and I said, I saw the club with him straight away. It doesn't need telling, but I said, once you go there and you have this meeting and stuff like that, you'll walk out and you'll want to sign 100%. And obviously, I was pushing for him to sign. We had a great relationship on and off the pitch. On the pitch, I think we got 58 goals between us. So I really wanted him to sign and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just a case of speaking over the next couple of weeks and making sure that he picked Notts County. I'm glad he is in the end.
Are you going to be rooming together at Notts then, or have you got your accommodation sorted out down here yet?
Yeah, so we actually live together in an apartment down there, which is it's nice. Obviously, it helps you settle in a little bit more when you know someone and you're living with someone. So yeah, we're living together. I probably had enough of him already. Like I can't wait till he moves out, because I think he might be getting his own little place with his missus. So but it's helped me settle in a lot living with him.
There's two of you, two men about the house. Who does the cooking? How do you work that? Because obviously you're not allowed all these Chinese and curries, are you? Now you're a full-time athlete.
He does his own cooking. I do my own. He do my cooking for me, because he used to bring a few things in the Gateshead that he cooked, like sort of meal preps and stuff like that. So I said to him when he started, I said, you can do my cooking, but I think he's too lazy to do my cooking. He just does his own. No, but yeah, he does his own and I do my own.
Okay. Is there much banter, rivalry, competition among the goals? You beat him last year.
Yeah. We used to have banter all the time about who was going to win the goal and boot and stuff like that. But like I said, it's healthy competition. We wouldn't have scored the amount of goals we did last year if it wasn't for each other. We pushed each other on last year. I think if we're scoring goals and we have that healthy rivalry, as long as it's healthy and it's not getting in the way of any performances or anything like that, which it was last year, it's helping the team if we're scoring goals. So yeah, we all have that little bit of banter about who's going to score the most goals or whatever, but it's all in good art. It's great.
Who took the pens last year and the free kicks from within 25 yards?
Yeah, none of us took free kicks. I don't think we got that in our lockout, to be honest. And penalties, we only got 3. Yeah, 1, 2, but the 2 that he took, I wasn't on the pitch for. But we had this agreement that if he won the penalty, he could take it, and if I won the penalty or I won the penalty, Adnan and I would take it. As long as I was on the pitch, so that was the sort of agreement. But like I say, when we only had 3, so he took 2 and scored his both, and I took my 1 and scored.
I don't want to give trade secrets away, but I suspect Ruben will be staking a claim for the pens, won't he, this year as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's Ruben's. I think we got, obviously Cal took it in against Alfreton. He took the penalty then. But I think Ruben scored in the playoffs against Grimsby, wasn't it? He scored the penalty. So I think it'd be hard to get the penalty off Ruben this season, but I'll put myself forward for him.
Who's going to be the top scorer?
Oh, I have no idea. There's so many candidates. That's the thing. But obviously Ruben had 20 goals last year, 20 plus goals last year. So he's obviously a massive goal threat. Kedwin, I know the ability as well. Cairo, he's so much ability. You see it in training every single day. Obviously myself, I think it could be any one of us really. I just want to score as many goals as I can and help the team.
Okay, in terms of your describing yourself as a striker, I was at St Neots for the hat trick you got in however many minutes it was, the goal against Forest. Are you kind of what some people might say a box finisher rather than hitting the 30-yarders? I mean, some people might say you come alive a bit inside the box, half a yard quicker, or ping a good shot. Like the Forest one would be a classic example, wouldn't it? There wasn't a great deal on half turn, left foot, which is not necessarily a right foot, as in right foot, top corner. How would you describe yourself, your goals?
Do you know what? It's funny because obviously I read social media, I see tweets on social media and stuff like that, and you know, people have sort of labelled me with this fox in the box, which I've never really been. Like last season, it was like my goals last season, they were all as a striker last year, as a central striker for about 12 or 13 games, but the majority of my games last year was actually as a winger. So I've been labelled this fox in the box striker, which my goals, it was sort of running behind 1v1s, beating a man and scoring, sort of creating my own goals for myself. But I've worked so much with the new manager and that's company this year. He's been brilliant with me, and he sees I've got this natural goal scoring instinct. I think only certain players have, and I feel like I have got that. And he wants me to be this central striker who doesn't sort of get involved in the build-up play as much, but is always in the box and always there to finish my chances. Like you say, he sees this goal scoring instinct, and he thinks I can score even more goals playing the way I'm playing. So it's completely new to me. I never play like this, but I see it so much as a positive that how quickly I've taken it on board, and I've started off really well. Continuing a new part of my game, and I added like a new string to my bow. I've started off so well, so it's a massive positive that in a short period of time I've scored goals and been putting in good performances. So who knows how high my ceiling can be. I'm keeping improving, keeping working with the gaffer, and want to improve even more. But I enjoy it. Like I say, I love scoring goals, whether I have to tap in or 30-yard strike, like you say. I love scoring goals, but I think there's going to be more tap-ins than them outside of the box goals this season.
Yeah, because I mean, for certain Notts fans of a certain persuasion, I know one or two people have drawn some comparisons to a guy called Gary McSwegan, similar build to you. He played for Rangers, and he came down to Notts many years ago. Low centre of gravity, strong boy, hold the ball off the turn, always seems to hit a crisp shot. You know what I mean? That's kind of I think the feel so far from Notts fans having seen you play.
Yeah. Like I say, it's brilliant to be compared to these legends of the club. But I think there's so much more to come from me as well. Obviously, it's great having all the compliments and stuff like that and the comparisons. But I think I'm showing a certain part of my game at the moment. I think I've got so much more to show as well. Okay,
you've mentioned a little bit. Let's talk about the head coach. Reputation for very, very strong on coaching, development, the tactical side of things. How have you found all of this and being on the training ground with him? And I'm guessing, although you've been full-time for a few years at Gateshead, I guess this is a little bit of a step up, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. I think, the manager at Gateshead was brilliant, but it was completely different to the manager and not that have different sort of ways of thinking and stuff like that. I've loved the first month or two at Notts. The manager, he's been brilliant with me. He's been brilliant with the lads. I think all lads would say exactly the same thing. He's so enthusiastic. You can tell he loves the game, and that rubs off on you. When you're sitting in meetings and he's speaking about tactics, or we're on the training pitch and we're working through tactics, you're amazed and intrigued by what he's saying, and it seems like everything he's saying works. He's got a way of thinking and a lot of solutions. If something's not working, he knows what to say and the right things to say, and they end up working. I think that's showed in pre-season. You can see the performances we're putting in, and you can see the way he wants to play. And I think that the lads have bought right into it. And we put in some really good performances, and we look so strong. And I think, I say it's only pre-season, but we've learned so much already. So I'm so excited about what this group can achieve with the manager going forward.
I mean, I know the aim is promotion. That Notts County historically, you would know, one of the founder members of the Football League. That brings with it a certain level of expectation, and you would put Wrexham in that category as well. Stockport got up last year. Grimsby made a quick return. You've touched on mentality. I guess playing for a bigger club brings with it certain expectations and pressures to perform and win most of your games, or certainly not lose many.
Yeah, but like I said, expectations from the fans and things like that are justified. You know, this club belongs in the Football League, like you say, and it's a really tough league. With the structure of the league, obviously one automatic promotion and one playoff, it is really tough to get out of. But you know, we've got to sort of match our club's expectations, and I think we've got the players and obviously the management staff and stuff like that to do that. I think we've also got that mentality that we're not going to let the pressure get to us. We've got a lot of experience in the dressing room now. That matches also obviously the younger players and stuff like that. So I'm excited about the season. I know there's going to be expectations from the fans, but I feel like we can match on expectations as players, and hopefully that leads to a successful season.
On the training ground, rubbing shoulders with your new teammates. You've lost one of your Geordie pals, Kel Roberts. You're both at Blythe Spartans, weren't you? I'm not sure at the same time, but so Kel's gone to Aberdeen. But presumably Ruben still. You've seen up close and personal what Ruben can do on a pitch and on the training ground with his skills and all the rest of it. Yeah.
100%. I think obviously Cal's a massive loss. His ability was brilliant. Ruben is one of them players. Obviously, I used to see his name quite a lot. I followed him from afar last season. You'd always see Ruben Rodriguez scoring goals and stuff like that. But I hadn't seen much of him as a player, so I had this perception of him obviously as being a good player, but I didn't know how good he was. And as soon as I seen him in training, I was like, he's a player. And I think the other day against Nottingham Forest, I think he showed everyone how good he was. I think he was the best player on the pitch, like for both teams. He would have, if he was playing for Nottingham Forest that day, he would have been their best player as well. He was absolutely brilliant, and I think I can see now how much ability he's got. I see it every day in training, but and seeing it in the game as well, he's going to be a massive player for us this season.
I know, speaking with the players, and I watched training myself last season, the players speak about how intensive training was last year. Very competitive on the training ground this season. Yeah,
very competitive. I think the environment we've got, we played old to be young the other day in a sort of game, and that was so competitive. You know, there was tackles flying, obviously not nothing overstepping the mark, but there was tackles flying. I just want to win, whether that's small-sided games, 11v11 possession games, or anything like that. We've got a very competitive squad, and we've got a lot of big characters, and it's very intense on a training ground. Obviously, it's been a real tough pre-season in terms of the intensity and the running we've had to do, but yeah, it's all good and all in good spirits.
Look, everyone's going to say it's a great sense of camaraderie, but have you fitted in well? Good team spirit, good blend?
Absolutely, yeah. But I knew I would. I spoke to Lewis Knight. Obviously, he was here last year, and I played with Lewis Knight at Westford Park Avenue a few years back. I went on loan there, and he said, "You'll love the group of lads." He said, "It's a brilliant group of lads," and I seen it from day one. They made me feel so welcome. I feel like I've fit in really well. I'm settled down there now, and I love coming to train every day because, like I say, it's a great group of lads.
Yeah. It was also interesting what you said earlier in our chat. You can kind of appreciate this all the more because you didn't go through that route of training in academies and 16, 17, 18, and I guess Gateshead, clearly you play in the old athletic stadium there. They get some decent crowds, a fantastic season. But clearly the infrastructure at Notts is kind of a different level, isn't it?
Yeah, it's by far the most professional club I've been at. You know, the facilities and the resources that they use there, it's unbelievable. Let us say there's no right or wrong way to do it in terms of where you want to come through, the path you want to take. You know, some lads go down the academy path. I've came through the non-league path. I'm not saying everyone's the same, because you do get them academy players that come in are really hungry and do more than anyone else. I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. I just feel like, obviously, you know the money involved in in football these days, and the sort of players maybe getting paid a little bit too much too early and lose that sort of hunger for the game, where hungry and never. Like I've had part-time jobs, full-time jobs, getting to college and stuff like that. With all due respect, I don't really want to go back there. I want this to be my career, and I want to make the best of it I can and take every ounce of my ability I can to see how far I can take me. So that's just my mentality. That's why I work so hard every single day, because I appreciate it.
If you've not made it in football, what would you think you'd have ended up doing now?
Someone asked me a question the other day. I have no idea. I genuinely don't have any idea. Maybe involved in sport in some sort of way. You know, obviously I love sport, I love football. Maybe involved in sport in some kind of way. I'm actually still studying at university now. I do like a distance learning course on the side of football, for after football, and that's sports science. So I want to go down the sort of performance analysis route and stay in football after that. So maybe something along them lines. I think I'd do.
That's very interesting. So you are doing a distance learning degree as we speak, and you're carrying on with that, yeah, in sports science.
Yeah, I just finished my second year. I just feel like it's important for, football's a short career, and touch wood, it could end at any time. It's a ruthless business in sport. So I just feel like I've got to have something for when I retire, and have something in place. And like I say, I want to stay in football after I've stopped playing, and that's the sort of route I want to go down. So hopefully in the next few years I graduate with a degree. I've got something behind me to look after myself after football.
Very good, because unfortunately we all tar people with certain perceptions, don't we? So do all the lads call you the professor or something then?
Nah, do you know what? I don't even think any of the lads that know.
Hey, they will now.
Yeah, they do it now. I'm not sure. I might mention it to a few. But I think it's quite natural. You'd be surprised about how many footballers do actually do that on the side and stuff like that. I'm sure there's lads in the not dressing room that do it. There was a few lads at Gateshead that did it. I think it's just important in a player's career to have something in place after football.
Very much so. I mean, Sam Slocum's a bright boy, isn't he? Who's it's very good. It's very, very, very good. I was going to ask you, what do you do in your spare time? But I guess when you're like adapting to Notts County and you're doing a distance learning degree, you probably haven't got much spare time, have you?
No, not really. You go through spells where you've got so much university work to do, and then you go through spells where you haven't got as much to do. I just like to keep myself ticking over. I think obviously living in Nottingham, it's a great city. There's so much to do there. Obviously I've embedded myself in the city. I've joined a gym and stuff down there, so I just like to relax and then go to the gym and just, I don't do much for my spare time, to be honest. But I think it helps you live a more professional lifestyle, living away from home. You got no distractions. You can focus on getting up and training, recovering, going to the gym, and relaxing, really.
I was going to ask you about that, because the Northeast kind of has its own microcosm. And sometimes when you move away from your roots for the first time, it can be a little challenging. But you're certainly settling into Nottingham, enjoying the change, yeah? Yeah,
100%. Obviously, it's my first time moving away from home. I've never lived away from home playing football, so I was a bit. I didn't know how I was going to cope the first few weeks when I was moving down. But yeah, I'm settled right in. I thought I'd be coming home a lot more, traveling back up to Northeast a lot more than I have been. But when I'm down there, I'll stay down there for the full week and stuff like that. Like I say, the city helps. Living with Kevin helps. Obviously, I know him personally. And the group of lads help. We have a coffee club. We go for a coffee. The lads that stay in Nottingham. We go for a coffee after training quite a lot. So there's plenty to do, and it's helped me settle right in.
Yeah, because we've had quite a few of the Northeast boys, haven't we? So Kyle Cameron, would you have come across Kyle, or is there a kindred spirit with both being Northeast boys?
Yeah, it was the same with Kyle and Carl. I knew of them. I've obviously followed them over the years, but I didn't know him personally. Kyle, we have sort of mutual friends and mutual people we know, so we just sort of probably knew each other a little bit through that. But yeah, didn't come across them. But obviously, again, it always helps that we've got that sort of connection, that Northeast connection. Going into the dressing room, we have something to speak about. We have common ground, so that always helps.
You've obviously you've come up from being Golden Boot National League North. You've played in the full National League before. As you said earlier, statistically, mathematically, if nothing else, this is the hardest division to get out of because there's only one automatic. Looking at the teams in this division, you'll have obviously got first-hand experience of the ones that have come up, and I think the Oldham owners already the Oldham owners already kissed goodbye to 6 points against Dorking, hasn't he, after his after his comments? Because Dorking's an unusual story because the owner is worth a few quid, and that's putting it mildly. And is he actually the manager still?
I think so. Yeah. I think he's still a manager. Yeah, I know he was last year, so I'm assuming that's.
What were they like when you played them last year?
They were in the south. They were in the north. They were in
the
south. So obviously, York came up from the north. Gateshead and York came up from the north.
Yeah. Looking at the runners and riders, I mean, what would you expect this year to be Notts' toughest opponents or rivals over the course of a season?
I think the one that stand out, the ones that everyone mentions is Wrexham. Obviously, the size of the club. That's another massive club. Obviously, it's well spoken about the owners and the budget they have. They're going to be strong. They were strong last year. Obviously, they almost went up the playoffs last year, and they're going to be strong again. Obviously, you've got some other massive clubs as well. You've got Chesterfield, a huge club. You've got Solihull, who signed well over the summer. And you never really know because you don't know how clubs are signing and the sort of players are signing, how they're going to look. But like I say, it's a very competitive league. There's so many clubs that could do really well. There's always a few surprises in there as well. That you won't particularly think that's going to be up there, but they will be up there. So like I say, it's a really tough league, but I think we've got more than enough in that dressing room to compete.
Now, you got a little bit of taste of the big time, didn't you, last year? FA Cup, were you involved with the game again? Was it Charlton you had up at?
Yeah, Charlton. Yeah.
What was that like? Again, the glimpse against upper echelons.
Yeah, so the round before we actually played Altrincham. Obviously, you'll know that them well. They're in the National League, and we played them over 2 legs, and we were pretty dominant over 2 legs. It went to a replay. We should have won the first game, continued later on, and we scored in the last minute of the second game. And obviously, drew Charlton in the next round, and obviously it was live on ITV4, which was obviously a brilliant occasion. There was a lot of fans there, and yeah, it was a great occasion. I think it was good testing yourself against the best players. I feel like we competed really well in the game, and I think we probably should have at least took it to extra time, if not won the game when enough chances to. We performed really well on the day, and it was just a great occasion. Like I say, you want to play against the best players and on the biggest occasions, and to do that against the League One side, top League One side as well, on ITV4 was brilliant.
Now, I guess asking you for highlights or games you'd be looking at very closely this season, I'm guessing you'll be saying the early trip back up to Gateshead, yeah? Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I can't wait for that. There's a few, obviously, Gateshead to stand up straight away. It's so early in the season as well. I've still got so many friends so close to a lot of the lads there. That's going to be a brilliant occasion for me. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, French's got the win in that game. As soon as we cross that white line, I really want to win. Then you've got York as well. That's another former club, and we played them the other day. But I'm looking forward to playing against them again. But there's just so many massive clubs in the league, and I'm looking forward to quite a few games.
Are you a sort that sets yourself goals targets, or if you do, you don't tell anyone? I mean, clearly last season was a phenomenal season for you. I mean, are you the sort of person that sets yourself a target or not?
No, I've spoken about it before. I think I've been asked this a couple of times in interviews. I've never been one to set goal targets. I don't believe in them. I don't think, if you're not hitting them targets when you set them and hitting them at certain points, you can sort of lose confidence and get sort of bogged down with them targets. And I just like trying to score as many goals as I can. And at the end of the season, I'll say, yeah, I'm happy with that. Or now I would have liked more. So yeah, I don't really set targets. I'm not a big believer in them. If you asked me last season, at the end of the season, at the start of the season, sorry, if you'd be happy with 20 last season, I'd have said yeah. So to then go and get 32, I've obviously massively exceeded my expectations. But like I say, yeah, I'm not setting no targets. I just want to score as many goals as I can to help the team.
Like all strikers, do you remember every one of the 32 and exactly what happened for all of them?
Yeah. I could go back. Probably 5 or 6 years and remember every single goal I've scored, and the way I scored it. Even most training goal. Even I remember training goals. I was one of them players. Obviously, one of them strikers that just love scoring goals. So I remember everyone I score.
Who do you look up to when you were growing up, or the Strikers Union? Who did you have a striking hero at Middlesbrough or anywhere else?
Middlesbrough, yeah, my favourites. Not that I compare them. I didn't try and play like them because I was totally different. But I loved Yakubu and Viduka. They were a straight partnership when I was growing up. Yeah. Obviously, score and watch them every single week. They're totally different to me, so I can't say that I model my game on them. They're very physical, hold-up strikers. But yeah, Yakubu and Viduka were two of my favourites when I was growing up. In terms of the one that I sort of try to model my game on, and the one that I made me start watching football really was Rooney. I think when he was 18, and I think it might be in Euro 2004, if I'm right. I remember I got my first memory of football really. I was 7-year-old. I remember watching it at home, and I went into school the next day, and I just wanted to be Rooney. He was my sort of football idol growing up, and I think a lot of my game is probably similar in the way you want to play. That sort of like working hard, relentless, trying to be as physical as you can for the size he was, and obviously scoring goals. And so I think he was my idol growing up, and the one that got me playing football really.
Just going back to the Middlesbrough, you mentioned Yakubu and Viduka. So you're a Middlesbrough fan. You went home and away. You're there for 3 or 4 years. How difficult was it to cope with being cut by Middlesbrough at 13, 14?
Really difficult. I speak about it quite a lot now. I think to be told at any agent you're not really good enough is tough. But to be told at like 13, 14-year-old, that the club that you've supported and watched since your first memories of football, to be told by them you're not really good enough at that stage, was really tough. But I don't think I'd change it now, because I feel like that made me the player out today as well. Like, that going through that sort of that time and having that sort of disappointment stood me in good stead, obviously, for any adversity that I faced over the next few years. And like I say, I won't change my path the way I've came up from non-league. It might have been totally, if I stayed at Middlesbrough and went through the scholarship pro sort of route, you see a lot of lads falling off and not quite doing it. So I don't think I'd change my path for anything. And like I say, it wasn't nice at the time, but I look back on it now and I have no regrets.
Macaulay, thank you very much indeed. All these number 9s behind us, all these number 9s. We hope you fill that number 9 shirt with distinction this season. Fair play for taking it and putting it on. All the very best for the forthcoming campaign. And thank you ever so much for taking the time to have a really good chat with us and us understand a little bit more about you. And here's to another golden boot for either you, Ruben, or Kedwin.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully. Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much indeed, Macaulay. Look after yourself. We'll catch up soon.
Peace, pal. And you. Thank you.